The night rain fell like a quiet judgment, washing the city streets as a black luxury car stopped far from the glowing gates of one of the richest estates in the country, and an old man stepped out wearing worn shoes and a faded uniform, preparing to pretend he was nothing more than a poor gatekeeper. No one knew that this man owned the land beneath his feet, the company behind the lights, and the fortune that could change lives in a blink. Tonight, he had only one purpose: to discover the true heart of the woman his son wanted to marry, even if the truth shattered everything he believed. Before the story goes any further, pause for a moment. If you believe kindness still matters in a world obsessed with status, if you believe people deserve second chances, then please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The father had built his empire from nothing, brick by brick, mistake by mistake, and loss by loss. Decades ago, he had known hunger, humiliation, and the silence of being invisible. Wealth had come later, but humility had stayed with him like a shadow that never left. His son, raised in comfort but taught discipline, had recently announced his intention to marry a young woman he deeply loved. The father smiled, congratulated him, and listened quietly, but inside him stirred a familiar fear. He had seen how money could disguise intentions, how affection could be rented, and how respect could vanish the moment wealth disappeared. He needed to know who this woman truly was, not in luxury, but in discomfort. The plan was simple and cruel in its honesty. On the evening she would visit the estate for the first time, the father would be stationed at the main gate, disguised as a poor, aging gatekeeper. He would be ignored, judged, perhaps insulted. Or maybe, just maybe, he would see something rare. The rain-soaked uniform he wore that night carried the smell of rust and old fabric. His hands, usually adorned with a watch worth more than a house, were bare and trembling from the cold. He stood under a dim light, waiting. The young woman arrived in a modest car, not flashy, not loud, her posture calm but slightly tense. This was her first visit to the home of the man she loved, a place she knew symbolized power and wealth far beyond her own world. She stepped out carefully, rain touching her hair, her eyes scanning the tall iron gates with quiet awe. The father watched closely, expecting hesitation, maybe entitlement, maybe impatience. Instead, he saw uncertainty mixed with respect, the kind that comes from standing before something overwhelming without losing oneself. As she approached the gate, she noticed the old gatekeeper struggling to close an umbrella that had long since broken. The wind pushed rain onto his shoulders, soaking him further. Most people would have walked past, focused on their own nerves, their own image. She did not. She slowed down, then stopped entirely, her attention shifting away from the grandeur behind the gates and toward the tired man in front of her. She reached into her bag, pulled out a clean handkerchief, and gently offered it to him, not as charity, but as something natural, almost instinctive. The father felt something tighten in his chest. He had not expected kindness so quickly, so quietly. She did not ask who he was or what he earned. She simply noticed his discomfort and responded. When he hesitated, pretending confusion, she patiently waited, her expression calm, her eyes warm. She then noticed his shoes, worn thin by years, and without making a scene, she asked if he had eaten. The question caught him off guard. In all his rehearsals, he had prepared for disdain, not concern. As they stood there under the dim light, the rain easing into a whisper, she spoke not with words of superiority, but with gentle curiosity about his work, his long hours, his health. The father answered briefly, keeping his voice low, watching every reaction. There was no disgust, no forced politeness. Only sincerity. She even apologized for arriving late, as if her timing had somehow burdened him. In that moment, the gates behind them seemed less important than the humanity unfolding before them. When the security signal finally allowed her inside, she paused again, offering a small packet of food she had brought for herself, insisting he take it. She said she would eat later, that he needed it more now. The father accepted, his hands shaking not from age, but from emotion. He had tested many people in his life. None had disarmed him like this. Inside the estate, the young woman faced another storm, one made of judgmental eyes and unspoken expectations. The house was alive with quiet luxury, polished floors, distant staff, and portraits of power. She felt small, but she did not shrink. She greeted everyone with the same respect she had shown the man at the gate. She thanked the staff, noticed details others ignored, and carried herself with dignity rather than entitlement. The father observed everything from afar, his disguise removed but his identity still hidden, watching her interact without knowing the truth. As dinner approached, tension grew. The son was nervous, hopeful, unaware of the test unfolding. The father finally entered the room in his true form, sharp suit, commanding presence, wealth written into every movement. The young woman recognized him instantly as the man who had stood at the gate, though now transformed. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but with realization. She did not rush to explain herself or justify her actions. She simply lowered her gaze respectfully, as if understanding that this moment was bigger than embarrassment. The father addressed the room, revealing the test, exposing the disguise, and explaining why he had done it. The atmosphere shifted from polite anticipation to stunned silence. Many would have defended themselves, claiming good intentions. She did not. She only said that she treated him kindly because he was a human being, not because she thought he mattered. That sentence struck deeper than any prepared speech. The father felt tears burn behind his eyes. All his life, he had searched for proof that wealth had not ruined the world. In her, he found it. He saw his younger self, hungry but proud, tired but hopeful. He saw the kind of partner who would stand beside his son not for money, but for love, strength, and shared values. The test had not only revealed her heart, it had healed something broken inside him. But the story did not end in triumph alone. The father apologized publicly for testing her, admitting that his fear of deception had almost cost him something precious. He acknowledged that true character reveals itself not under observation, but in unguarded moments. He thanked her for reminding him that dignity does not come from wealth, but from how one treats those with none. As the evening softened into warmth, the rain outside finally stopped. The estate felt different, less like a fortress, more like a home. The young woman did not celebrate. She simply smiled, relieved that honesty had been enough. The son, overwhelmed with pride and gratitude, realized that love was not proven through grand gestures, but through small, unseen acts of compassion. As you reach this moment in the story, if it has touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who believes in goodness, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only survive when people choose to spread them. The father later walked alone to the gate, now quiet under the stars. He stood where he had stood before, imagining all the people who passed through without being seen. He promised himself that the gatekeeper would never be invisible again, that dignity would be woven into every corner of his empire. One act of kindness had changed not just a family, but a legacy. Before the story ends, we have a special request. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, the richest lesson learned that night was not about trust or tests, but about humanity. Wealth can build walls, but kindness opens gates. And sometimes, the greatest shock comes not from what people hide, but from the goodness they reveal when no one is watching.